So welcome back to Let's Get Real. So John, you just got a new phone.
New phone, who this? It's good. It's a cheap Chinese, well, it's not cheap, but it's a Chinese knockoff. Well, it's not even a knockoff. It's like...
What brand is it?
It's an Oppo. So Huawei got banned from using Android. And I used to have a Huawei. And I do like the phones, like the compared to like Samsung, because Samsung I find come with a load of crap on them. And these have less crap on them. But I'm not an iPhone man. I prefer Android. I just prefer the customization of it compared to...
what make did you say that was?
It's an Oppo.
Oppo, right.
Yeah, it's apparently a good up-and-coming brand. I mean, from what I've used of it, it's a really good phone. It's quite high spec. It's got a good camera. Does what I need it to do. Really good screen. For me, it's sick. It's good. It's a good one.
One thing that I have seen with them phones and Android phones recently is the cameras.
Yeah.
So we're talking, yours is 60 times zoom.
60x zoom, yeah.
Yeah. What's the Samsung? The Samsung's 100.
I think they're like the S21, isn't it? Right. I think this is like a comparable competitor to the S21. I'm pretty sure. It's good. It's the Find X2 Pro, I think, or something like that. Oppo Find X2 Pro for anyone that's listening. But it's a good phone. I'd recommend it. And it's on a fairly cheap contract. Comparing it to like, the latest iPhones or the latest Samsungs, it's like really cheap compared to that. Also, the screens are, is it 120? 120 refresh rate. Yeah, it is really good. 120 hertz.
120 hertz. Yeah, that's pretty sick.
It's
to be honest,
as good as like my computer monitor. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's unreal. My dad's actually just got the Samsung. I don't know what's it called. Do they know with the 100 times zoom?
It's the S21, I think.
Is that the S21? Yeah, and it's honestly crazy. So he was showing me it the other night, and he was zooming out of the kitchen window towards some flats, and there was a guy sat on his balcony and he was zooming right in on him, and it's just unreal.
It is crazy how good camera. Like if you think, like even 5 years ago, right? I had a hybrid camera. It's just like a hybrid between a digital and a DSLR, and it is just crazy how far like my phone camera is better than like any camera I've ever owned. Right? There are DSLRs which are like the same as today's phone camera. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how much it's progressed.
It's unreal when you think about these tiny, the size of a pea on the back of your phone that allows you to zoom in either 60 or 100 times and still have a very, very, very clear image. Yeah,
the thing is though, with it's actually a lot about the software. I don't know if you know, but a lot of the cameras, it's all about the software behind it. So it's great having a high megapixel sensor, like a 48 megapixel. I think this is 60 megapixels or something. But unless you've got good software, that's why iPhones, I would admit I'm not a big iPhone fan, but they take a really good photo. But it's about the software behind it. Like they use the same lens pretty much as Samsung's. It's just the software that they use and how they process that image, which, gives the blur, gives the background effects, does all the colouring, everything like that. And I do think iPhone, they've got a really good setup on them. Like they are good.
I've got the iPhone 11 Pro Max, I think it is. Now that only does 10 times zoom. So when you compare it to something like a 60 or a fucking 100, it is unreal.
It's crazy, yeah.
And I've seen...
the level of detail you get as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's why, it really does boggle my mind to an extent that we have these cameras and we have these devices on us. Like you could be sat somewhere in a park and stalking someone on your phone and they just never even know you're there. So you're basically carrying around a fucking telescope.
Exactly. I remember that hybrid camera I had, I think it was 35x zoom. And like when I had that like 10 years ago, that was like crazy. That was really, and it's a lens like that big, like a massive lens. And you compare it to it's half the zoom of this, and this takes a better photo. It's just crazy how obsolete things have become because of mobile technology.
Yeah, it is really unreal. And I think I've seen some videos somewhere where somebody was like zooming into the sun or the moon.
Yeah, I think that's one of the selling points of the S21, right? With the 100x zoom, is that you're able to take pictures of like the night sky and stuff.
Yeah,
and stars and stargazers and stuff with it.
I mean, speaking about like moons and stargazing, I started going down rabbit hole recently. So over the last few days, I've been watching a lot of space documentaries.
Yeah.
Right, and I just think
You've gone down that rabbit hole.
when it comes to space, I think it's very easy to go down that rabbit hole, right? Because especially when we're kids, we question everything, and we have this very naive thing about us where we always want to know why when we're kids. But when we grow older, it seems to be very childish, or people look at it as childish, why we're here and blah, blah, blah. But when we're kids, it's like this fascinating thing. And I've still got a piece of that, right? Why? Same. Yeah. So why are we here? What are we doing? And I've just been watching a lot of documentaries and going down rabbit hole at 3 o'clock in the morning, as you do. It's easy to do, especially, when you're in bed, it's late, you start putting things on about space, and it's just super easy to, zone out, especially about space, like why we're here.
Yeah.
And things like that. So I'm watching a documentary with, I think, is it Professor Brian Cox? Is that the one?
Brian Cox, yeah.
Brian Cox, yeah. And the amount of, I couldn't spit out the information right now because a lot of it just goes over your head. You have some form of understanding about it, but you don't really take in the extent of what they speak about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the amount of facts that I've learned about space over these last few days is seriously unreal.
Yeah, I think the one thing with space that I always not struggle with, but I think for anyone to comprehend how big space is, right? Like the fact that like our sun, right? In our solar system, our sun is 99.96 or something % of all the mass in our solar system. So you think about everything combined, the sun is 99% of that. Of mass, not space-wise, just because the sun's so dense, right? But it's just crazy to think how heavy. It's like you can fit thousands of Earths inside the sun. Like it's so hard to comprehend how big that is. And the fact that we're not the only solar system out there is thousands, millions of solar systems. It's just crazy. And like the fact, even you think about time and space, right? So we look at a star and we see something happening on a star. That happened billions of years ago, because of the time it takes for the light to travel to us is billions of years. Yeah. So that happens It's just crazy to think about that. We're used to things happening instantly, right?
Yeah.
And then you compare it to that, and it's
one of the subjects that you're speaking about right now. He was also speaking about something very similar. He also said how us in this small window that we are right now. I think the Earth is probably around. Is it? So many billion years old. What is it, 8 or 13? Something like that. Now, for us in this small time period that we're looking out into space, and we can see where these big bangs have gone off in the universe, and these flashes of light that give us an understanding now of how things was so many billions of years ago, right? Well, for future civilizations, let's just say, if we was to live, which I don't think we will, so many more billion years, or even a couple of billion years from now, civilizations won't be able to get the same readings that we do about light, because it will all disappear, go dim. So if we was to record something now, like we can see so far out because of these flashes in the universe and these big balls of light from previous explosions, we can see that far back. Future civilizations won't be able to see any of that, and they will think we're crazy because we've recorded all that. Yeah.
So you're talking about the expansion of the universe, right? So the fact that the Big Bang happened and everything is perpetually moving away from each other.
Yes.
So everything is expanding. So it will get to a point where people look out and they won't see any stars in the night sky because they are so far away that no light comes back, or there's not enough light for us to see it in our, in human eyes. And that is, but that just shows, right? We've got to put all our efforts into this now, because they are going further away. Our technology needs to come as faster than they're moving away from us, because it will get to a point where we will be trapped in our solar system. We won't actually be able to move anywhere because it will just be too far. It'll be too far for us to go.
Yeah, it's unreal. So have you heard of is it the CERN project? That's the big machine under France. And where it's under France and somewhere else, and it crosses like some kind of border.
Belgium.
Well, so that machine, the particles that they send round, I don't know if you remember, I remember being in school when they announced that they've got this big machine and they're going to set it off. And everybody was saying, "Oh, well, it's going to be the end of the world because they're trying to create."
2012, the black hole
of
thing.
course, yeah, the
like, oh, it's going to create. Was that CERN or was that the Hadron Collider thing? I thought that was a different one.
I thought that's the same thing.
I'm not sure. It might be the same thing or it might be different. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, the black hole thing.
Yeah. So I remember.
End of the world.
Yeah, I remember that being like this big crazy thing, and I was waiting, like, because they were saying, "Oh, they're going to do it at a certain time," and I'm like,
and then everyone's like, "Oh, hold on a minute, what's going on here? Nothing's happening."
Yeah, so I thought, right, are we going to be swallowed up here? By a black hole. So the particles that they send round, and I can't remember how many miles long it is. Is it around 12? Is it around 12 miles? It must, or more than that. Yeah. Might be 20. I'm not too sure from the top of my head. The particles that they send round, right? They can replicate what happened in the Big Bang, right? They have these cameras in there when these particles collide that allows them to take pictures and then see and identify bits of light that come off, and just kind of get an understanding on what happened when the Big Bang happened, right? Yeah. And the speed that they send them round. Is like, I think it's 99.9% the speed of light. Like, how, as humans, can we even get something to travel that fast?
Exactly. I think it's isn't it to do with magnets or something? I swear they've got like electromagnets which go around. That's what sends around, something like that. But yeah, it's just the speed of light. It's like, for humans at least, incomprehensible, right? It's just crazy. But I think one of the best examples of it is comparing it to the speed of sound, right? So when you see a lightning strike, and then you hear the thunder however many seconds later, it's because that's how far away it is, because they happen at the same time. But you always see the lightning first because the speed of light is faster than the speed of sound. But yeah, it is just mind-boggling. Things like that are just crazy.
From the top of my head, now I don't know how right this is, but I'm sure light is something like 147,000 miles per second.
I don't actually know if you're able to measure the speed. I don't think they've ever been able to accurately measure it. I'm not, don't quote me on that, but I don't think they have.
Now, I could be wrong, right? Because I don't study space, right? I just pick up these little facts as I go along.
You just watch Netflix documentaries.
No, it's not just, it's YouTube documentaries. No, but it's really fascinating. Like, what is our purpose?
Yeah.
Here.
And is there other life out there? Because that's a big question as well. Which, if you think about if the universe is actually infinite, then there has to be. Because if there's infinite possibilities, then there's infinite chance that there will be. So that there's got to be somewhere else where everything's lined up just right. Everything's happened in the right order for there to be life. It might not be like human life. It might not. It might just be bacteria. But there has to be life out there. There's no way there's not.
Oh yeah.
Whether we'll see that is the question.
Yeah, I think they say there's something like there's more galaxies out there, or it could be stars, but I think it's galaxies. There's more galaxies out there than there's grains of sand on this planet.
Yeah.
Now, when you think of a single grain of sand, that is unreal. Yeah. Now, it could be stars, right?
I think it's galaxies.
I think it's galaxies.
Yeah.
So when you think of that, that's seriously unreal, because within them galaxies, then there's billions, if not trillions, of stars as well inside each. I think it's probably billions, but inside of each galaxy. Now, when you think of galaxies and zeros, and you think of billions or trillions, it's hard as a human to actually get a grasp of how many zeros that is. Like, our minds are just limited to what we can think.
They are limited to what the number we can visualize, right? We can't visualize that amount of anything. We know it's a big number, but we don't actually. I think there is actually a limit. I think that someone's done a scientific study on this, that like there is a certain number that we can get to, that we can visualize, and then after that, it's just a number. Like, we don't actually see how big that is.
No, I think well, it's really we can't picture that.
Yeah,
even when you try, our brains just say they just refuse to print an image of that size.
Yeah,
which is really crazy. I mean, even imagining just the basic parameters of outside of this planet is hard to do. Yeah, and get a grasp of the size of this planet is hard to do.
Yeah, even that, because when if you're in space and you're looking back at our planet, it doesn't look that big, but like just comprehending the size, just the size of Earth is just crazy. Like the fact that Earth is like 70% of Earth is water, right? 70% of the Earth's surface is covered in water. It's just even just thinking of that, and you think, Surely not. Surely there's more land, but we only see the land, right?
Yeah.
You know, when we're on a boat, we're not really looking, you know, you can't see that far because there's a horizon, because the earth is not flat. Let's just clear that up. The earth isn't flat, the earth is round. That's why we can't see, because there's a horizon that's curving.
We're going to have flat earthers going mad.
We can have flat earthers, but they're all stupid, so...
So he's
getting
all
controversial, but...
Hey, listen, if any flat earthers out there want to come and
you want to argue that point, please do, because I will get a degree, okay, just to prove you wrong, right? Because you are wrong, just straight up.
Yeah, there's, you know, when flat earthers come out and they're like, yeah, it's definitely flat. The government are lying to us. I just think, why would anybody want to lie to us?
Yeah,
about the earth being
exactly.
You know, being round.
Exactly. I've got a question for you, right? So we're obviously putting a lot of money at the moment into space exploration, right? A lot of time, money, all of that. But do you think we should be putting more money into space exploration or into exploring and fixing our world? Because if you think about it, right, 65% of the Earth, excluding land, because obviously we've seen all the land because it's only 30% of the Earth itself, 65% of it is unexplored. So of the oceans, essentially, 65% is unexplored. Do you think we should be investing more and spending more time looking at our own planet and essentially figuring out what's going wrong with it, you know, finding everything on our planet, documenting everything on our planet before we go and explore other planets?
You see, I think this is a very controversial topic. But when I think of it and I think of how serious it is with us being on this planet, we are destroying this planet at a serious rate.
Yeah.
A serious rate. And I think guaranteed the only way for us to survive as a species is to explore out of this world, right? I think that's something we have to do because the human population is growing at a stupid rate. It's just massively overpopulated. We can't continue at the rate we're going, personally. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And I think the only way, you know, as a growing civilization is to look at other planets.
Yeah. Yeah, but so what I would say to that is, so the population is growing, right? And we have a lot of land which is uninhabitable. But that land is only becoming more uninhabitable because of the damage we're doing to it. Because we're allowing climate change to happen, you know, around us all the time. So Africa is getting hotter. Therefore, it will at one point become uninhabitable because no one can survive there. But that's only because we're making it unsurvivable. So like that's what I'm getting at. Do we spend all our time fixing Earth, and getting that to a point where where it's inhabitable? There's no issue. Well, obviously, we won't get to no issues, but you know, the issues that are coming up are being dealt with, and then we go, right. So how can we make humanity better by exploring and finding new elements, new technologies, all that stuff to help people, rather than just going and say, right, let's just ditch this world and find another? Because like, surely we need to fix here before.
You see, I disagree with that. I do disagree with that because there's multiple things that could happen, such as world wars, nuclear world wars, you know, natural events, meteor strikes. These things happen. This has happened in history.
Yeah.
And I think it's smart as a civilization to explore elsewhere, which gives us a better survival rate, let's just say, than being on one place.
Yeah.
And if we could obviously get to Mars and, you know, terraform that, I think that would be great. And I think it'd be hard. How many people's on planet? What, 7 billion? Is that right?
Billion,
7 billion.
Yeah.
All right. So 7 billion people. How do we get them to stop climate change? You know,
that's the
overnight?
thing. Yeah, because you're talking about natural disasters and stuff, but I know people might say I'm wrong here, but natural disasters, a lot of natural, you think about tornadoes, that's to do with weather, right? Climate change is affecting that. Well, there is factually going to be more natural disasters now than there was hundreds of years ago because of climate change. That's the whole thing. It's like, do we fix here before we? Because the problem is we don't know if there is. I mean, there will be somewhere else we can inhabit, but is it in our solar system? Because right now, it takes us 4 years to get to Mars. So if we're looking, and we know all the other planets aren't inhabitable, Mars itself is barely inhabitable. I don't know if you knew, but Mars is actually toxic to humans. You wouldn't ever be able to go outside, ever.
Yeah, I think at this rate, but they've got solutions. Let's just say, that has a probability of working.
Yeah, I think I watched a documentary on it. I think, and it's like we'd have to do so much just to be able to live there. Like you'd have to live in a metal capsule. The pressure's different, so it'd have to be a cylinder or a triangle. Like it couldn't be. You couldn't just have these big domes because the pressure of Mars would just crush it instantly. Like you wouldn't be able to have windows. You'd have to be all indoors because obviously windows glass wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure. It's just things like that. It's just in movies you see it's big glass domes and you can see outside. It wouldn't be like that. Like you'd just be living. It'd be like living in a bunker essentially.
It's. Do you know what though? It's really funny in a sense because what are we trying to achieve? Eventually, it will all come to an end in terms of again the universe, the galaxy we're in. Everything eventually will collapse, right? So what is the why?
What's the point?
Yeah, in a sense. But I think this is something that is just built in us because we all are a part. When I'm watching these documentaries, we're all a part of space, right? We're all a part of space and time. When we look into ourselves and things like that, we are made up of stars, little bits of. We essentially made up of little bits of the galaxy. That is the only thing that we are made up of. Everything we can see right now. Yeah. Of course, well, it's made up of tiny, tiny little particles, from different stars as well and things like that. So what is our reason? And I don't think anybody will be able to answer that. Why are we wanting to continue this civilization on? Because
survival, right? It's
but
survival.
Eventually, correct.
Because the whole point of human nature, it's ever since humans began, it's survival. Whether that was hunter-gatherers or us now where we are, I would say, thriving, we still have to survive. And in our heads, survival means fixing climate change, or survival means finding the place we can inhabit because we're screwing Earth. Like that's the question, right?
But we do know
it's got to be survival. That's the only reason.
We do know this is going to come to an end.
Yeah, at some point, yeah. Well.
Do you think
we know that as the sun's a star? I think I've said something about earlier. I swear I said this, deja vu. I swear I've said this before. But the sun's a star, and every star's life cycle it will expand, and the sun will swallow up Earth. But if we've inhabited somewhere else, obviously I understand that we're going to have to move at some point. And it will have to happen because the sun will swallow up Earth. But if we've moved to a different planet by then, but that we're talking like billions and billions and billions of years.
I don't think it's that many billions of years. I think it's not.
I swear it is.
I think in 500 million years. Now I could be slightly wrong here. The sun,
it's like 4 billion years or something.
Yes, that's the total life cycle I think we've got left of the sun.
Yeah.
But I think in 500 million, I think half a billion years, the sun will be that strong, it will completely evaporate the oceans, right? That means zero survival on this planet.
Yeah.
But then when you think of it, are we really going to survive another 1,000 years? I mean, look how much we've advanced in 100 years.
Yeah. So how I don't even know how long humans have been around. Like what history has been recorded. History has been for what? 3, 4, 5,000 years, something like that.
Possibly something along those lines.
Whereas I think before, I swear, like at least 50,000 years humans have been around. I'm pretty sure, but like we're nowhere near. Like we're still at the start of our life cycle as humans, right? As humanity. But yeah, there is impending doom. I know it sounds doom gloom, but we won't be around then, so don't worry about it. But it's going to happen at some point. I don't know. It's a hard one, but again, it still brings me back to the fact that I personally think we should explore space, but I think we should also try and fix what we've got here before, because how are we meant to operate and be the best that we can possibly be if our home's being destroyed? If you think about it that way, how much more could we do if we weren't having to tackle these problems? If we just tackled it, dealt with it, if we weren't having to, how much more then afterwards could we then? It's always looking at the long run, right? Everyone wants to fix something in the short run because they see the most, the effects quickest.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's a long game. I think that's what we're going to have to do, because we won't be able to explore because we'll be dead by then because of climate change.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking about that, even in like 1,000 years, and we are really at the beginning of this civilization that we have now. But for people to start fixing climate change, I think modern society and the society we live in are in that much of a routine. I don't think many people sit back and be like, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
The earth, this planet that I walk on today, because not many of us.
Not one person can help. That's the problem. It's got to be everyone.
Yeah, we're too busy now.
All or nothing. It's politics. It's the problem, right?
Yeah, and I don't know what it is, but I think as this modern society, I don't really think that most or many people think outside of this planet, right? Mm-hmm. When we look up, it's like the sky's the limit. We're in this bubble, when really we're actually not. With this little tiny rock,
nothing, like
floating at 1,000 miles per hour, through space.
Yeah. We are literally like the mud planet. Like that's what Earth is. That's like, it's crazy.
Many people
so insignificant when it comes to the universe or solar system either.
Yeah, many people, just go to work. Mm-hmm. They come home and think, oh well, it's weekend now. I'll chill out. Oh, Sunday I've got to go do my shopping. Weekly shop. They don't sit back and think, well. And they probably think much about space, or climate change, what we can all do as a civilization to help, the planet. And that's something I don't really think about, and you yourself won't think about.
I'm the same. Well, I do. And then I'm like, well, actually, so by doing this, it's going to make my life worse because it's not going to be as comfortable because I'm consciously thinking about things all the time. And then but it actually won't make a difference. Me doing it myself will not make a difference. Even if I told every single one of my friends to do it and they all did it, it wouldn't make a difference. And that's the problem. I think we're so focused on, like, if you think about, let's talk nationally, right? Or internationally, I should say. We're all focused on beating other countries. Whereas, like, it's like emissions and stuff, right? Everyone's going, right, well, China has the most emissions, therefore they should pay the most. But China's a developing country, right? China hasn't been making the most emissions for that long. It's only in the last decade or so. Think about Europe and America and everything like that, who've been pumping out emissions for we're able to focus on lowering our emissions now because we're a developed country, right? We're a developed economy. We have the money to be able to do that, but they don't. They're still going. They're still trying to build themselves up. So but everyone's so focused on blaming someone, or this country wants to do better than that country. We've got low emissions. We all just need to come together as an earth, as humanity, and deal with it. But that's the problem. Politics will always get in the way. Wars will always. People will get in the way of people. That's the problem.
It's not only that as well, but again, like I was saying about people look up at the sky and they think the sky's the limit. We're all in this bubble, so we don't really think as a civilization.
Outside of the box.
Yeah, we don't really think outside of that box, right? Mm-hmm. We all just think, oh well, when we die, we all go to heaven, and life just keeps continuing forever and ever in this continuous cycle. Yeah. And really, that's very far from the case.
Exactly.
But this is something I think our brains are very limited, right? Even though we are this smart civilization, we know a lot. Mm-hmm. We can look out into light years. We can look out light years into space, which is mind-boggling. We couldn't even think about that. Yet we have this, we're so divided. Yeah, we have such limited brain capacity in a sense where, we've got these warships out on, different seas and in these different oceans, let's just say. But if you start crossing any borderlines, there's, other countries and other ships there on standby. Like, don't you cross that piece of water?
Yeah.
You cross that piece of water, I'm gonna send you a fucking warning.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a warning shot. You
Exactly.
cross that piece of
We're
water.
so focused on ourselves.
You cross that piece of water, I'm gonna send a fucking warning shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's be honest. Like, to put it short, humanity's selfish, right? We are born and bred to be selfish. We want to preserve and make the best for us, whether that's me, myself, me and my friendship group, me and my family, the country as a whole, the continent as a whole, whatever union, whatever anything. We're all selfish, and that's the problem. And I know it sounds bad, and I know it sounds like we're painting humanity as a bad thing, but it's true. Like, if we weren't, if we did actually come together, we could so easily solve climate. It's such an easy fix, but no one wants to pay for it. Everyone wants to shift the blame to someone else.
Yeah.
And it's just, it will never get sorted until someone makes a change. And that's the problem. Like, if a government came into power and the UK said, right, we're going to put X amount of money into it, they just wouldn't get voted on again. That's the thing. So everyone's so concerned about self-preservation that they put that before everything else and use the excuse of, well, if I do lose power or I'm not able to do this, then I won't be able to do good in future. Therefore, I'm going to take this moment to be selfish and do what I want.
We are phenomenally advanced in certain areas of life.
Socially, yeah.
Yes. And then we are so tribal.
Neanderthal, yeah.
Neanderthal.
Yes.
She was saying Neanderthal, yeah, in
we are.
other areas of life.
But if you think all the way back to the Neanderthal, it is as simple as that. You're on my land, get off my land.
Yeah.
This is my land and I'm keeping it for myself because I'm selfish. That's the thing. It comes back to that.
So yeah, it's like we've got all this crazy technology. We can look out light years into space and things like that. But if a certain ship crosses a little piece of an ocean, they start firing warning shots like a caveman. Get back.
Like in America, it's like you step foot on someone's lawn. Like, I'm going to shoot you now. I'm going to shoot you. You've stepped on my lawn, therefore I'm going to shoot you.
Unreal.
It's crazy. We're just selfish. Like, all we can say, we're just selfish. Everything's about us, about one, it's not a group thing. And no matter how many people turn around and say, well, I do this, which makes the world a better place. Yeah, but look at the thousands of other things you do, which doesn't. Like, no one's truly, down for the earth or whatever. Everyone does something. And that's the problem. We can't do it by ourselves. We have to have everyone involved. Everyone's got to do it. Everyone's got to commit to it 100%, or what's the point?
Makes me wonder where we are going to be in around, even 100 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of technology, would we have then? That's something I'd really like to live and see.
Yeah, I would, and that's actually really good because that brings me on to the point I was going to bring up. That so we were saying before about how cameras and stuff are getting crazy good compared to what they were. We have made massive technological advancements, right? If you think about even 10 years ago, when you had a phone and it had a keypad, whatever, Blackberries, we didn't have the touchscreen technology. There's going to be a point in the next probably 50 years or so where we actually can't make anything more powerful, right? So you get a new phone or you get a new computer, you want the next best thing, right? You want something more powerful, something faster. But there's going to get to a point, like even now, if you think about like a circuit board in a phone, it's capacitors, right? It's like on-off switches. That's how, binary works, everything like that. And capacitors now are like atoms wide. They're tiny. They are so small. It's going to get to a point where they can't get any smaller. So either things are going to have to get bigger, which is a reverse step because everything's meant to be getting smaller, or we're going to have to find something else because there is a limit. There is a physical size limit on what we can actually pack into a phone or pack into a computer. And that's where things like quantum computing come into it, which I'm not even going to try to explain. It's a different level of physics. It basically breaks the laws of our physics, but it is there and it is being developed. And that is the next big thing that will come in, which is going to allow us to progress. But as soon as we get that, there will be a limit. It's never going. It's a cycle, right? We're always going to get to the point where it's not good enough. We have to go bigger and better, And it'll be a constant cycle. But the fact that we're able to do that as a human race, it's just crazy when you think about it, right? How far we've come in the last 30 years. It's just crazy.
I mean, I remember growing up in school with a Nokia. Well, I'm just going to say a Nokia, right? It didn't even have a camera. The best thing I could do is play snakes. And you could literally see the pixels in the screen of each section of the snake.
Yeah, I got my dad's old Sony Walkman phone. Like.
I had one of them. And that was a decent... When Sony Ericsson, the Walkman phones came out, they was the fucking shit.
They were great. They were amazing.
You had one of them phones.
You were like... You were a cool guy. You were a cool guy.
Yeah, 100%. So if you look at them phones now, and I think it was I probably held one around a year ago, a year or two ago. I found my old one. Well, one of my old ones that I had. And I am not kidding you. It was small. I can't really tell you the actual size.
Yeah, they're tiny.
When you compare your iPhone, it's not even like half the size of your iPhone. The screen was...
Because it's so simple. You make calls, you can send a text, that's it. You can play Snake. You may maybe listen to music if you're lucky.
Yeah, so I mean, back then though, they seemed pretty big. Like for the time, when you used to hold them. If you try to hold them now and send text messages, unreal.
Yeah, I think there's a massive demand though, right now for a bigger screen. But again, you've got to have more technology to power that bigger screen. So it's a backwards cycle. It's weird.
Yeah.
But it goes right. It's the trend. There was a point where the small phone was the best phone, right? It was about getting as much technology as you can into a smaller phone. Whereas now it's about the biggest, brightest, best screen, the best camera, the best everything. And it is just, and like, even if you think about the durability of those phones, right? You couldn't break a Nokia. Like you actually could not, it's physically impossible to break a Nokia. Even a Walkman, you couldn't break it. Now, you drop your phone once and it's smashed. And then you got to go pay someone who's going to go and buy a part for 20 quid. And you have to pay them 200 quid to shove it in. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And you know what's
because
really...
we're selfish. Bring it back.
yeah. So if you would take your standard basic Nokia phone and then you put it at the side of something modern like your phone or my iPhone 11 Pro Max, let's just say, if you take all of the features out, so like a camera, and you count everything on this phone compared to that phone in, a space of 10 to 15 years, the amount of physical, let's just say, instruments that are being implemented into that phone. So like, again, you've basically got a telescope, a camera, compass, you've literally... Calculator. Yeah. There's so many things that you have on that phone. If you was to stack up, is really unreal. Like there's no need to buy a telescope. There's no need to buy, all right, you could buy a telescope to an extent, an actual camera.
Yeah.
Because it's just all merged into one thing. Now there's so many items in there. The list could literally just go on and on and on. And I just find it unreal.
It is. And if you think about, it's the Turing machine, right, in Bletchley Park. So which did all the decoding from the war. Which was essentially the first computer. That machine,
the Enigma. The machine that broke the Enigma code.
It was. I think it was the Turing machine, right?
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's made by Alan Turing.
Alan Turing
He made the first computer. It's in Bletchley Park. Yeah. So that computer is like a warehouse essentially of just that one computer. That phone is like thousands and thousands of times more powerful than a computer 60 years ago, or probably more, 80 years ago, and it's more powerful than an entire room of stuff. It's crazy. If you think about like an old Macintosh computer, right? They were like a massive technological advancement. Like one centimeter of this phone is more powerful than that. It's crazy when you think about how far we've come. Like the fact we're talking into this microphone, and you used to have to record it on a wax disc or a wax tube, and then have to play it back like that, and you have to etch in every little thing. It's crazy. It is crazy.
It really is funny how fast life goes.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was younger and I was playing videotapes. Actual videotapes. I mean, that was in my lifetime.
When you wanted to take a photo and you had to get a disposable camera, then take it to the chemist and get the the film
Unreal.
developed, and you'd have to wait like 3 working days to get a photo.
So I remember, I also remember having this Nokia. I can't remember what it was called, right? And I had an extension for this phone. It never had a camera, right? But I got a camera extension, so it was like this big wire, right? Probably nearly around 30 centimeters long, and then it had this big camera on the end. You know that you pulled out. And there's like a little camera on.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember? Right. So I actually had one of them, and you'd think for the size of that, it'd be able to take a good picture, and it looked like 144p.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah, it would just be so. It's like we were saying the other day that you used to have to download an app to turn your flashlight on. Like that wasn't something you could do it with the flash. You're taking a photo, but you'd actually have to download a different app to put your flashlight on. It's crazy, like how far we've come in such a short space of time. It's just like every year, like Samsung released like 10 new phones a year. It's crazy, and they're all better than the last one. It's just how far ahead are we?
Yeah, how long is that going to go on for? You know,
but that's what I was saying before. It's going to get to a point where they can't get better and they can't go bigger because people will go, right, okay, this isn't a handheld device anymore. This is an iPad, right? This is a big tablet. And that's the point we're going to get to, which is where new levels of computing, like quantum computing, is going to be the norm. And it will this traditional style will just be obsolete. It won't be for anything. It'll be for powering fridges. That's it.
That's. I mean, even fridges.
Yeah.
Now, even
it doesn't matter what you have. If you plug it into something somewhere, it will have a motherboard somewhere. Something will be telling it to do this, that, and that.
John, you can literally get smart fridges now.
You can text someone from your fridge. It's just crazy. It is. It's like Amazon Alexas, right? It just think about if you put that one piece of technology in a room with 100 people 100 years ago, they'd probably be like put in a mental asylum because people would just think they're crazy. The fact that there's a box on your table and you talk to it, it talks back to you and does stuff for you. You'd honestly you'd be put in a mental asylum.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. Imagine, just taking how can I say Tesla for some reason and
even a Tesla.
Amazon. No, there's an Alexa back in time. 80, 90 years. And
with a battery, obviously.
Yeah, obviously with a battery, and you plug it in and show somebody, they'll be like, "Wow,"
I don't think they would. I think they'd be scared.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I'm saying,
but it's like
wow.
Not like I mean, I've just come back from my grandma's house, right? And I can only imagine what it's like for her seeing this technology develop because it would be alien. It would be if we think of quantum computing, right? I can't even comprehend that. And I would say quite technologically minded. Mate, 50 years down the line, people can be like, what? You don't know what that is? It will get to that. And we think right now we're the hot shit. It will get to a point we are not the hot shit. We have no idea. And it scares me because I don't ever want to be at the point where I'm like, what's that? Why do you need that? Why would you ever need that? You know how we feel now if we talk to the older generation.
I was just going to say that, I can't understand all this technology.
I'll just stick to my pen and pad. I'll stick to my non-quantum computing phone. I'll be all right with that. It does what I need it to do.
You also find even something as silly and simple as a selfie, and you see like your pensioners trying to take a selfie.
Yeah, and they're just pressing numbers on the calculator.
And you see them like looking down at the phone, and they always take this like kids as well. When they take a picture and the face is just above the screen. Yeah. And just unlocking phones and the simple things is,
like fingerprint. We've only just got to set up with online banking. It was really, really hard to get to the point where, well, actually, no, it was more my granddad who didn't want it, but she, think about the fact that you used to have to go into it. I did this, going into a bank to deposit money, or going to bank to send someone money, or using, writing a piece of paper out. A check, putting it in the post and sending it to someone, and then you look at now, 2 clicks, there you go, there's 100 quid. It's just crazy.
So what is the next big innovation? What's that going to be?
I think it's going to be virtual and augmented reality. That's going to be the next big things that people have tried. Like Google, do you remember Google Glass when that came out? Google Glass. So like it was like a pair of glasses that had augmented reality. So do you know what the difference is between augmented and virtual?
No. So I think I know what you're talking about, but go on.
So virtual reality is essentially, you know, like if you wear the virtual reality goggles, right? That's putting you in a completely different area.
But
augmented is
live.
Altering
what we see.
What we see to include text. So that's like if you wear a pair of glasses or, you know, like Pokemon Go, that's augmented reality because it's having our reality, but then putting something on top of it. So Google tried to do it with Google Glass. I think it was at least 5 years ago. And it's basically a pair of glasses which you could like search Google and stuff in, but they're big, clunky, like a massive box on the side of it, and it didn't look like no one bought them. But that's going to be, then I think, the next big thing. People are going to start doing that. I mean, even where I work, we've started looking at VR, you know, using VR within some of the production environments and things like that. And it's really, really interesting. I had a whole meeting on that, on what type of glasses we can use, what we could use it for, like entering data. You wouldn't have to have a computer in front of you. You just got it on your glasses.
I think
it's crazy.
I think one hope for modern society is we can now, in this day and age, do anything we want. So, you know, when we talk before the internet, you know, we talk, you know, like 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, and obviously going back, we was limited, you know, to who we know, what information we can take in, unless we went to a library. Whereas now, we've got all of this information. Humans and, you know, modern society can now do whatever they like. Right? With no limitations. Everything pretty much is now free on the internet. And, you know, if you wanted to become a millionaire, let's just say, you can learn how to become a millionaire through thousands of different methods, let's just say, thousands and thousands of different methods. So I think one of the hopes, you know, for society in this day and age is we have everything at our fingertips. But again, this is another thing. A lot of people are also lazy because everything has gotten so easy. You know, so it's a gift and a curse.
I agree. And I think the internet has brought out some of the bad things in humanity. If you think about it, right? Let's just take quite a menial thing. Like, you know, like furries and things like that, yeah? Or people like wearing weird leather suits, yeah? If you think about...
Are you going to tell me you're going to wear a weird leather suit? Is this what you're doing?
No, hold on. Before the internet, right, there would be that one person that never comes out of the house. They stick to themselves. The internet has allowed them to go into a chat room and find like-minded people. So it becomes normal and it becomes acceptable. And that's the problem. If you want to do that, do it. But the problem is people like showcase it now. It's really bad because they feel normal because they found it's allowed people to connect. It's great. You can connect with your friends, whatever, but it allows weird people and, you know, almost dangerous people to connect with other dangerous people.
I think this is a topic we can speak about for a solid few hours because there's so many different topics that we can go into. But here, let me just agree with you that the internet's creating a weird place.
And dangerous. If you think about it.
And dangerous.
Like, I know it's going into a different topic, which we're not going to go into, like paedophilia, right? It's giving them a place where they can talk about it with other people. And that it's bad. It's bad because you're then making them feel like it's acceptable and it's normal, and it's not. And that's one of the negatives of the internet, right? And I think we can probably go into that on a future episode because I think it is way too deep for now. But yeah, it's bad. There are some negatives to it, but on the bright side, it does allow you to connect with other people, right? It allows you to know anything you want to know, like that. And like we said today, right? We said, we want to talk about this on the podcast, right? Okay, here's a few facts. Like we can just go and do that. We don't have to worry. We can do that anywhere. We can do that at a bus stop. We can do that at home. We can do that wherever. As long as you've got signal, as long as you've got an interconnection, go for it.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking about modern society, speaking about, you know, civilization as a whole, we are going down a weird route. I just think...
In terms of what?
In terms of a lot of things, right? So let me try and break this down.
You just said we're weird.
Yeah. So one of the reasons... I just think us as a whole, right? We're going in a very good direction. We're
Yeah.
learning a lot. We're bringing out a lot of new technology. We're advancing at crazy levels. Yet there's this strange part of society, this, I'd say, growing percentage of population that are starting to get into like you say, furries and, all these
because they've got a place where they can feel like they're normal.
Yeah, it's
and
not.
Let's be honest, they're not normal.
It's not fucking normal by any means, right? And there's even documentaries out now about these kind of people, dressing up as dogs. People who believe the dogs, people identifying as dogs. Mm-hmm. This is going to start going into a whole fucking different topic now.
Exactly. I think that's a topic we want to stay clear of from this episode. But I completely agree. And it is taking us down a weird turn, and it's getting to us to a point where you can't say anything. You can't say you can't do anything, or else someone, because the internet's the thing, because everyone can see what you do, is going to be offended. Yeah, and that is a massive problem at the moment. There are a lot of people who you say one thing will be offended, and they will try it. They will do everything they possibly can. They will sit behind their keyboards, these keyboard warriors, and they will try and do whatever they can to make your life hell. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
We are in a very crazy age. I think these last 3 or 4 years or so. So, yeah. I mean, I even seen a video, I think a couple of days ago, of a guy in London who now identifies as Korean, right? So I think it's called is a British, a normal white British male. Mm-hmm. He now identifies as Korean because he's had an eye operation that makes him look more Korean, apparently. And he is now transracial.
Is that even legal?
Apparently, well, he now identifies as, I do not understand society. And I think this, and the way that we are going to an extent, is it's a mental disorder. It is a mental disorder. It's not normal. In evolution terms, when we think about evolution, it is not normal as a person to, you know what, I'm going to change and I'm now going to be a parrot.
That's the thing. Like that. You can tell yourself as much as you want that you want to be a parrot, but at the end of the day, you're not. Okay, and that's the thing. And this isn't hinting towards being transgender or anything. This is the different niche category, because if you want to be transgender, that's completely fine, right? I fully support that. I don't support when it goes to, like you say, changing you can't change your race. You're born, like, that's the race you're born.
No, but people are catching on now saying, well, if you're going to change your what's the word for it? If you want to change to a male to a
gender.
Your gender. If you're going to change your gender, well, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change my nationality. Let's just say I'm going to change to a completely different thing. People are identifying as animals. Honest, people are identifying as transracial.
Yeah,
it's just
the way I think about it. The way I think of it, right? Anyone can be whatever they want to be. Whatever makes someone happy, that's fine. But when you start trying to affect other people because of it, I think that's when it becomes an issue. If you want to be, you be who you want to be, right? Anyone can be whatever they want to be.
But then does it affect you if somebody turns around and says you have to change your vocabulary to, you calling me a him or a her?
So I don't mind that. That doesn't bother me because it doesn't affect me that much. It's changing one word. If someone said you have to talk to me in a different language, I'd be like, well, actually, no, I don't, because this is my language. This is the language I want to talk. But if someone said to me, right, I now identify as a woman and I want to be he, she, her, I wouldn't have a problem because it's a tiny change. And if it makes them feel all right, fine. But if they want me to make a massive change in my life because of something they've done, that's probably where I'd start drawing the line, start setting some boundaries and say, well, actually, it's a change you've made. I support the change. I'm happy if you want to do it, but it's affecting me now, so I'm just going to end this here.
Yeah.
And that's the way, that's the truth of it. And I think I would say that's the same for a lot of people. I know a lot of people have different opinions on it, but
no, I'm the same as you. Look, I'm fine until it starts affecting me, and what I have to change.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the small change, like, again, I don't know about you, but would you be annoyed if someone said, well, would you mind calling me her or she because I've because I'm now transgender. I've changed.
No, not at all. No, in a sense, if I know the person, I've got a really good relationship with them and I understand it. Because a lot of people as well are attention grabbing and, they're doing it because, they want to be different. They want to stand out in society. The world's a broken place. All this kind of malarkey. Now, I agree with if they said, look, would you mind? Right? I probably wouldn't, especially
rather
if I know
than being
the person.
told. Yeah.
Yes, rather than being told, you best do this. Now, you speaking to me in the wrong way and I'm going to fucking call you whatever I want to call you now. No, because that's just how it works, right? So, yeah, to an extent, I don't mind saying, look, yeah, of course I would. Because I would to an extent. Now, if I've been told what to do, or let's just say a completely different scenario, if I was to turn around and be like, oh yeah, I know that guy, did you just assume his gender? Or their gender?
That's where, when people start getting aggressive because of it, like, I would understand, right, if someone said to you, right, would you mind calling me this? And you went, yeah, sure. And then you didn't. And then they said again, nicely. And then you didn't. And you kept not doing it. I would understand then if they turn around, listen, I've told you 5 times, I want to be called this. You've said you'd do it. You've not done it. Because then that's you then purposefully ignoring it. And if you don't want to call someone that, don't surround yourself with people that would like to be called something different. Because if they want to be called something different, then you've got to respect that. It isn't a massive effect on you. So if you don't want to be involved in that, then you need to take a step back because, again, it is the action that you need to take. They've done that. They've changed what they want to change. Now you need to change yourself.
This might offend some people, but the facts are, in essence, it is a mental disability because, when we think of evolution and how our brains have developed, evolution has designed us to be, either male or a female. And, I can understand it is, when I say like a mental disorder, I say it in a nice way.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word disability just because that again, I would say is saying they're not able to do something because of that, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, so disorder, right?
I wouldn't even say it's a disorder. I mean, it's a different mental state, right? It's a different opinion on something. It's a different mental... I guess it's just the way you think about the way your outlook on life, right, is different to someone else's. But we're all unique. We're all human. None of us are the same. So when it comes, that's why I'm like, well, actually, there's some things I don't like. It's even if you think about jokes or there's some areas that I don't want someone to talk about this. So I'm just gonna say to them, would you mind not talk because it's a sore topic for me, or I don't want to talk about this because it's a sore topic for me. That's where I don't have an issue. But I wouldn't say it's a disorder or a disability. It's just people being different.
It's not.
I'm fine with people being different as long as it doesn't affect me.
Well, look, I mean, even, I think there's around a 40% suicide rate in people who are transgender.
I did not know that.
And I think that's around 40%.
But do you not think that's something to do with the fact that...
No, because that is... something in their brains, chemicals that is not balanced right, or because that's where it all stems from. It stems from the brain, how the brain, is developed.
Yeah.
And if everything, according to evolution's plan, would have gone smoothly, really the brains shouldn't, in a sense, work that way.
But do you not think that could also be accounted for the fact of society, right? Because there are a lot of people who are accepting. I think it's becoming more, there are a lot more accepting people now, but there are still some people that if you said you were transgender, they would treat you completely different from any other human being and make you feel like you're nothing. So would you not say that could also be accounted for the fact that society can just be a bitch sometimes? Let's be honest. People can be really, really nasty for no reason.
Now, I don't treat anybody differently, right? And I know a couple of transgender people, honestly, right, who, take hormones and things like that, and I don't treat them any differently, right? No differently whatsoever. But I just think, these generations that are coming up now, just a bunch of fucking snowflakes. We're just turning so soft and...
Yeah, I think there definitely are elements which we're getting to the point where you get, like I said, but you can't say anything. There's a limit on what you can be offended by. Like, you can't all of a sudden decide that for what, for 20 years of your life, you're fine with this. Then one day you're not fine with it. That's where there's lines which again are crossed in terms of, I can't say this, but I can. You're just not allowed to say it. And that's where, for me, it's like, well, actually, I am allowed to say that, but that's fine. If you don't want me to say that, that's fine. But I'm just going to disassociate myself with you now because I don't follow that. I'm not the same as you.
Look how petty it's getting as well, though. Like, I don't like it when people talk about like this. Eventually, we're not going to be able to speak about anything, just because it offends people.
Yeah.
Why should it offend people? Yeah. It all should be, open debate. Yeah. And it's just not. It's really, modern society now really fucking baffles me. I think we're going to wrap up for now.
Bringing that wrap, do you know why though? I've said it so many times, because we're selfish. It is. It brings it back to that. I want this, you want that. That's the thing. We are selfish.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just think it's, of course we are selfish. I just think it's growing, and we're growing at this weird rate. People are, expanding off into different paths, and everything's getting really petty. We can't talk about certain subjects.
Yeah.
And we're just going down weird rabbit holes, recently. And I just think this generation is way too fucking soft at the minute. And I do believe in...
On the alternative side, as we brought back to before, we are, I would say we're probably one of the smartest generations, and we're going somewhere, right? We're doing something, we're doing things that haven't been done before. So, again, there's always a flip side to everything, right? Everything's got ups, everything's got downs, and it's about making sure the ups are better than the downs.
We're getting that petty now. We want to rip down statues of Winston Churchill, someone who led us through the war to victory, just because he had a questionable past.
Yeah,
he's getting really fucking ridiculous, to be honest. And you know what? I think we should save all this. I think we should save this for another episode. We'll dig a lot deeper. So before we wrap up, you got anything to say, or shall we call it quits?
I think we can call it there.
Yeah, man. So great podcast. Again, thank you everybody for listening in, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a good one.
Let's get real.